The crystal glasses trembled slightly on the white tablecloth as the two wealthy brothers burst into laughter, their voices echoing across the elegant restaurant in downtown Chicago. Across from them, the young waitress froze, clutching the receipt to her chest. Her throat tightened as one of the twins leaned back, pointing at her with a smirk, a cruel, lazy gesture that sliced deeper than words. Behind them, unnoticed, the restaurant owner stepped out of his office. His eyes narrowed at the scene, the trembling waitress, the mocking brothers, the uneaten plates pushed toward her as if she were the problem. For a brief second, no one breathed. The waitress blinked rapidly, trying to steady herself, praying her voice wouldn't crack. What none of them knew was that this small act of cruelty would set off a life-changing story, one woven with hidden pain, second chances, quiet dignity, and a secret from the past that would bind their lives forever. Before we begin this emotional story, tell us in the comments from which city you're watching, and don't forget to leave your like to keep following us. The lunch rush had been brutal, but Emily kept moving as if the floor itself demanded it. She balanced 3 tables, a spilled latte, and the cold silence in her chest that always arrived before payday. The restaurant smelled of rosemary and fresh bread, the kind that reminded her there were 2 versions of life. One served at these linen tables, and another survived in tiny apartments with peeling paint. When the wealthy twins, Lucas and Nathan Grant, were seated in her section, she sensed trouble from the start. They carried themselves like the world bent for them, suits tailored, smiles too sharp. Their family was old money in Chicago, a rich family that appeared often in the news, especially after their father had expanded the Grant medical empire. Emily approached with a polite smile. "Good afternoon. Can I get you anything to start?" Nathan barely glanced up from his phone. Lucas waved a dismissive hand. "Water. And hurry, please." She noted the tone, swallowed the sting, and turned away. Inside, her chest tightened. Another day, another performance. Another reminder she was just a cleaning lady yesterday, a waitress today, a struggling student whenever she could afford textbooks. When she returned with the drinks, the comments began. Snide jokes about her hands, about her apron, about whether she knew the menu well enough for people like them. She tried to keep her breathing steady, fingers trembling only slightly as she placed the glasses down. Then the check arrived. Nathan scoffed. "Are you kidding me? We're not paying for this." The service was entertaining at best. Lucas burst into laughter. Emily felt her vision blur. I'm sorry if something wasn't right. I can fix it." "You?" Nathan smirked. "Fix something?" A soft metallic clink echoed as a fork rolled off the table. And that's when Emily noticed movement behind them, the restaurant owner stepping closer, quiet as a shadow. Her heart stuttered. What was he going to do? Robert Hayes had owned the Windmere House for 17 years. He'd seen everything: celebrations, breakups, spilled wine, broken proposals. But humiliation was the one thing he never tolerated. As he approached the table, he studied Emily's posture, the way her shoulders curled inward as though absorbing each word like a bruise. "Is there a problem here?" Robert's voice was low, calm, but it carried weight. Both twins turned. Lucas's grin faltered for a second before he straightened in his seat. "Oh, no problem. I'm just explaining to your staff why we won't be paying for this." He made a dramatic gesture over the table, as if the very plates offended him. Emily's throat tightened. She tried to speak, but Robert placed a gentle hand on her arm, just enough to steady her breath. "I'd like to understand," Robert continued. "What exactly was wrong with the service?" Nathan leaned back, folding his arms. "You really want the list? First, she took too long. She brought your water in under 40 seconds, Robert replied. Nathan blinked. Lucas cleared his throat. Well, she didn't smile enough. Emily instinctively touched her chest, trying to hide the raw ache beneath her ribs. She hadn't slept well. Another cold winter night at home, another call from the community center reminding her that her father's place at the shelter was still uncertain. Robert noticed everything. The smudges under her eyes, the way she swallowed her words, the deep trauma she hid behind politeness. "Gentlemen," Robert said softly, "you refused the food, mocked my staff, and now you're refusing to pay. Is that correct?" Nathan smirked. "We thought rich families like ours deserved better." For the first time, something cold flashed across Robert's eyes. Emily felt a shiver run through her. Other guests began glancing over. Robert straightened. "In that case, I'll handle this personally." Lucas frowned. "Meaning?" Robert looked at Emily and whispered, "Go take a breath. I've got this." Her heart thumped. Why was he stepping in so strongly? She barely knew him beyond morning greetings. But as she stepped back, Nathan muttered under his breath, "Pathetic," and that word, sharp, careless, made Emily stop mid-step. Robert heard it too, and the atmosphere in the restaurant shifted, like a storm gathering above polished silverware. Emily slipped into the hallway near the kitchen, leaning her back against the cool wall. Her fingers pressed against her eyes, fighting the sting. This wasn't the first time customers treated her like she didn't matter, but today felt heavier. Maybe it was the exhaustion. Maybe it was the fear of losing her job when she needed every cent to cover her father's medication at the shelter. Through the murmur of voices, she heard Robert confronting the twins. "You owe for the meal," Robert said, voice steady. "And you owe my employee an apology," Nathan scoffed loudly. "Apologize? To her?" Lucas laughed under his breath. "You must be joking." Guests were pretending not to stare, but the tension pulled every eye toward the scene. Even the chandelier lights seemed to burn brighter, exposing everything. Robert's tone deepened. "I built this restaurant from nothing. I know what hard work looks like. I know what dignity is. And I won't let anyone take that from the people who work here." Emily's breath caught. His words were more than protection, they were conviction. Nathan stood abruptly, chair scraping the floor. "Do you have any idea who we are?" "Yes," Robert replied. "You're two men using wealth to hide your lack of character." A silence spread across the room like spilled ink. Lucas rose too, jaw tightening. "You're making a big mistake." Robert didn't flinch. "The only mistake here would be letting this continue." Emily pressed a hand to her chest, feeling both fear and an unexpected warmth. No one had defended her like this, not since her mother passed 5 years ago. Then Nathan snapped, "Fine, we'll pay for the damn meal, but we're never coming back." Robert didn't budge. "That's your choice." Nathan shoved a credit card into Robert's hand with theatrical annoyance. Lucas grabbed his coat, muttering a string of insults under his breath, ones Emily had heard too many times in her life. But as they turned to leave, Robert said something that made both twins freeze. "You remind me of someone I used to know." Nathan paused, confused. Lucas turned halfway. "What's that supposed to mean?" Robert's eyes softened, not with sympathy, but memory. Someone who thought money made him untouchable, someone I spent years trying to forget. Emily watched from the hallway, her breath trembling. A secret from the past, between Robert and the twins. Before she could piece it together, Robert added quietly, "Your father." The words hung in the air, heavy as stone. Lucas turned fully, eyes narrowing. Nathan's mouth fell open for a moment, before he regained his practiced arrogance. "You don't know anything about our father." Robert exhaled slowly, as if releasing years he'd kept locked away. "I knew him long before he became the millionaire CEO everyone praises, long before the headlines, long before the success. I knew the man beneath all that." Guests were no longer pretending not to watch. Lucas tried to laugh it off. "What, were you old friends?" Robert shook his head. "Not friends, rivals, and once almost brothers-in-law." Emily froze. A ripple of confusion passed across the twins' faces. Nathan stepped closer. "What are you talking about?" Robert looked toward the hallway where Emily stood. Their eyes met briefly, and she sensed this wasn't just about the past. It was about why he had stepped in so fiercely today. "A long time ago," Robert began, "I loved a woman named Margaret Hayes. She was gentle, bright, the kind of person who could walk into a room and make people rethink their lives. But your father, Joseph Grant, wanted her too." Lucas crossed his arms. "That doesn't prove anything." "No," Robert agreed, "but what he did next does." Emily felt her breath slow, drawn into the unfolding revelation. Robert continued, voice steady but laden with memory. "Joseph sabotaged my business, lied to investors, spread rumors about my family. I lost everything. Margaret never learned the truth. She married him instead. The twins exchanged a quick look, something like discomfort flickering beneath the pride. Robert didn't raise his voice. Your father believed power gave him the right to humiliate anyone who stood in his way. Seeing you two mock Emily today, it was like watching the past repeat itself. Emily felt her chest tighten. She'd heard of powerful people crushing others under their influence, but this was no rumor. This was lived pain. Nathan broke the silence. You're blaming us for something that happened decades ago? I'm saying, Robert replied gently, that you still have a choice, a chance to be different, a second chance to rewrite the kind of men you want to become. Lucas scoffed, but Nathan hesitated, just enough for Emily to notice. Robert stepped back, giving them space. Your father never changed, not even when he had the chance. But you're young. Your story is still being written. Emily watched the twins, wondering which path they'd take. But before anyone could speak, the front door swung open, cold wind rushing inside, carrying a voice that cracked through the room. Robert, we need to talk. It's about Emily. Emily's stomach dropped as she turned toward the man standing in the doorway, her father. Emily didn't remember moving, only the cold gust brushing her arm when the restaurant door shut behind her father. Daniel Reed looked older than his years, the shelter life carving tired lines around his eyes, but tonight his expression held something sharper, fear. Robert stepped forward. Daniel, what happened? Daniel's breath shook as he looked from Robert to Emily. Sweetheart, we need to talk. I didn't want to bring this here, but I didn't know where else to go. Emily felt her hands tremble. Dad, what's wrong? Guests watched silently, the wealthy twins frozen near the entrance. For the first time, Lucas and Nathan didn't look arrogant. They looked unsure. Daniel pulled a folded envelope from his jacket. The paper was worn, creased from hours of being held. I found this today. It's from your mother. Emily blinked, her chest tightening like a fist gripping her heart. My mother? Dad, she's been gone for years. Daniel nodded. I thought I had thrown everything away after she died, but this letter, it slipped behind the dresser at the community center. I never opened it before today. His voice cracked. It wasn't addressed to me, it was addressed to you. Emily's breath caught in her throat. The letter looked fragile. The ink faded around the edges. Robert's gaze softened. Emily, do you want to sit? No. Her voice was barely a whisper. Just read it, Dad. Daniel unfolded the letter slowly. His hands shook, but his voice steadied as he began. Emily, my love, if you're reading this, it means I didn't get the second chance I hoped for. Emily felt her knees weaken. There is something you must know about Robert Hayes. He once saved my life, and if you ever find yourself lost or hurt or facing the world alone, go to him. He will help you. He has a heart that doesn't break, even when it should. Emily pressed a hand to her mouth. Robert closed his eyes briefly, absorbing the weight of the words. I didn't know she ever wrote that. And, Emily, don't let the world make you smaller. You came from love, even if life hasn't shown you much of it lately. Daniel refolded the letter with trembling fingers. The room was silent, the air thick with emotion. Nathan glanced at his brother, whispering, This is different, man. Lucas swallowed hard. Emily finally spoke, voice thin but steady. Dad, why now? Daniel looked at Robert. Because someone at the shelter recognized your last name. They said a wealthy woman named Margaret Grant once donated in honor of someone named Hayes. I didn't understand until today. Robert's stomach tightened. Margaret, his lost love. Joseph Grant's wife, the twins' mother. Emily whispered, What does that mean? Daniel looked straight at Robert. It means you were connected to her long before today. And maybe Emily was meant to find you. Emily's breath trembled. Lucas shifted, guilt stirring behind his posture. For the first time, the twins saw Emily not as a waitress, but as someone whose life had been shaped by loss, struggle, and unexpected threads of fate. And in that moment, everything they'd said to her earlier hung in the air, like poison. Robert took a slow breath, the revelation hitting him like a memory resurfacing after years underwater. Emily, your mother was one of the kindest people I ever met. His voice softened. If she asked you to come to me, then I'll honor that. Whatever you need, you have my support. Emily looked down, blinking fast to keep tears from spilling. She wasn't used to kindness that didn't demand repayment. Nathan stepped closer. Emily, his voice cracked slightly. About earlier, we were out of line. Lucas nodded stiffly, looking down at the floor. We acted like idiots. We didn't know anything about you. Emily didn't respond. She didn't trust her voice. Robert shifted his attention to the twins. Your father's shadow doesn't have to be yours. You can walk a different path. Nathan ran a hand through his hair, eyes clouded with something new, awareness. Mr. Hayes, what he did to you, to your life, we never knew. Our father never talked about the past, Lucas added quietly. He always said success justified everything. Robert shook his head. Success means nothing if it crushes people on the way. Emily touched the letter again, the fragile paper grounding her. Daniel stepped forward. Robert, there's more. He hesitated. The shelter's losing funding. They might close next month. I didn't want to burden Emily, but I'm running out of options. Emily's chest tightened. Dad, you should have told me. He gave her a tired smile. You already do too much. You're still a struggling student, and I didn't want my problems to drown your life. Emily shook her head, tears sliding down her cheeks, despite her effort to hold them back. Robert inhaled deeply. How much funding is missing? Daniel looked ashamed. 25,000. The amount felt impossible, bigger than their lives. Lucas's eyes widened, but not in arrogance, more like recognition of the weight. That's nothing compared to what we waste on a weekend. Nathan swallowed. We can help. Emily looked up sharply. I don't want pity. It's not pity, Nathan said gently. It's responsibility. Lucas nodded. Call it a small act of kindness, or maybe a first step toward redemption. Emily searched their faces, trying to see if the words were genuine. For once they were. Robert stepped between all of them, like the quiet center of a storm beginning to break apart. If we do this, we do it right. Not just money, commitment, volunteering, showing up. The twins exchanged a look that held more sincerity than anything they'd shown earlier. We'll do it, Nathan said. We're in, Lucas echoed. Emily's throat tightened. Something fragile and unexpected began to shift inside her. 2 weeks later, the community center gym buzzed with voices, the echo of laughter bouncing off faded walls. Long folding tables were lined with donated food. A silent army of volunteers moved between stations, and a banner hung crooked above the stage. Hope for Haven Shelter, community fundraiser. Emily stood near the back, still wearing her simple blouse and worn flats, but tonight she felt different, less invisible, more seen. Nathan was at the registration table, greeting guests, explaining the shelter's work. Gone was the lazy smirk. He listened, asked questions, shook hands with both wealthy donors and tired mothers from the neighborhood. Lucas moved between tables with a clipboard, coordinating vendors, talking about long-term support instead of just a one-time check. Robert watched them with quiet amazement. I barely recognized them, he murmured. Daniel smiled, eyes glistening. Maybe that's what real second chances look like. By the end of the night, the numbers were in. Between the twins' initial donation and the fundraiser, the shelter had raised more than enough to stay open and even repair the leaky roof Daniel always complained about. For him, this was a life-changing story. The fear of losing the only safe place he knew melted into shaky relief. Later, when the crowd thinned, Lucas approached Emily near the stage steps. He held out an envelope, but this time there was no arrogance in the gesture. What's this? She asked. A scholarship application, he said, for a hospitality and business program we sponsor. We talked to Robert. If you want it, we'll cover the tuition. No strings. You're already running circles around most people we know. Emily stared at him, then at Nathan, who nodded. This isn't charity, Nathan added. It's an investment. You've been carrying more weight than any of us. We just finally opened our eyes. Emily felt emotion rising thick in her throat. I don't know what to say. Say you'll at least think about it, Robert said gently, joining them. Your mother wanted you to believe you came from love. Let's build something from that." She looked at her father across the room, laughing with a group of shelter residents. The worry lines softened for the first time in years. The community center lights shimmered above them, turning this worn-out gym into something almost sacred. Emily took a slow breath. "Okay, I'll do it. I'll apply." Lucas smiled, small, genuine. Nathan exhaled as if he'd been holding his breath all night. In that moment, their lives, rich twins, homeless father, overworked waitress, wounded owner, stopped being separate threads. A small act of kindness had rewoven them into one heartwarming story of redemption and forgiveness. The kind that changed more than just one life. It changed all of them. Months later, a framed photo hung on the wall just inside the Windermere house. It showed the four of them standing in the community center gym on fundraiser night. Emily in the middle, Daniel leaning on her shoulder, Lucas and Nathan on either side, Robert behind them with a hand resting gently on each twin's shoulder. Beneath the photo, a small plaque read, "Haven Shelter, supported by the Hayes and Grant Initiative, because dignity belongs to everyone." The shelter not only survived, it grew. The cold winter nights felt a little less cruel for the people who found a bed there. The wealthy brothers, once known only as the sons of a powerful businessman, became known for something else, showing up week after week, learning names, serving meals, writing checks quietly instead of loudly. Their father's legacy no longer controlled the story of who they were becoming. Emily finished her first semester of classes, working part-time at the restaurant and part-time at the community center. Her steps felt steadier, her voice stronger. Sometimes, when she passed the table where the humiliation had once happened, she would pause, not to relive the pain, but to remember how far grace had carried them from that day. Robert visited Margaret's grave one quiet afternoon and told her everything. About Emily, about the twins, about the forgiveness he never thought he'd be able to offer. He left a single white rose and walked away lighter, finally letting the past rest. What began as a cruel scene in a crowded dining room had become a testimony to second chances, a reminder that even in a world divided by money and status, one choice to defend, to listen, to care, can change a destiny. A waitress found her path, a homeless father kept his home, two rich brothers discovered their hearts, and an old wound finally healed. Thank you for staying with us until the end of this heart-touching story. Tell us in the comments which moment touched you the most. Subscribe and turn on the bell to receive more stories that inspire and transform. Leave a like if you believe in the invisible strength of kindness, dignity, and family. And thank you for being part of this community that believes in stories with soul.